Peace and blessings, family. Good evening. I hope you all are well. I just got finished watching Tina, the documentary about Tina Turner, and I had to come and talk about it, y'all. First of all, I've always been a fan of Tina Turner since I was a kid. So I first got introduced to her by the Private Dancer um, album. And when we used to do karaoke at my house with my siblings, I always did Private Dancer because I just loved Tina. I loved her. Um, just her liberation, her liberated self, her I don't want to say wild, but it is was a wildness, but it was like a freedom of wildness. When I say wildness, there was something about who Tina Turner is and who she was. But when you watch this documentary, family, if you haven't watched it, you have to watch. There's something about when elders share their story, it is so liberating. Um, I was so touched by her because we see the beautiful dancing, strong woman, but she was strong in just other. She fought some things that all of us fight, but to hear her talk about it, um, her background. It talked about her growing up a sharecropper and picking cotton and not really being with her parents and not feeling like she was loved by her parents and that they had left and she was raised by a cousin. She talked about how that impacted how she moved in life with love and with men. Um, uh, there were so many truths. I have these notes on the side because I was taking so many notes as I was watching it and pausing it and dancing. And then it got towards the end, I had tissue because I was crying. Um, because there was such dots being connected. Even when you think about the people who came to her rescue, it wasn't Black folks, family. Let's just talk about it. I know every time I post a lot about this Black femicide and abuse, very early on, she was exposed to violence. And it wasn't the violence that we think about with the Ku Klux Klan and all that kind. It was violence in which how we treat each other in our community. And in this case, mainly watching Black men abuse Black women. So she talked about her mom and her father and their abusive relationship and her watching her mother fight back with her dad. And then eventually she left. I think sometimes in our community, it is hard for us to be honest about when we see those stats of Black women being murdered, that sometimes Black folks have to, Black women, let me just be honest, Black women have to leave Black communities in order to feel safe. And some people are going to get really mad at me. I don't want to hear nothing about no goddamn systematic racism because to me that now sounds like an excuse. Here is a woman who absolutely dealt with violence. And to hear Black people defend Ike, because in our community, we defend criminals, we defend predators. The Black community is known for protecting the Black man, even when he is violent towards Black to women and girls. Sorry, y'all, I'm trying to make sure I share this thing live. Sorry, I didn't really see that. So there is something in Tina's story for me, hearing her talk about it, that totally just hit me in the gut, in the core, even now as I fight to raise our awareness about Black femicide and watching Black people be concerned with Asian people violence and the cops being violent towards Black men, but not once saying anything about all the violence that's happening towards Black girls and women and the murdering of Black girls and women. So there's something in there. Watching Tina Turner having to give everything away and only retain her name. But when you think about people going for freedom after coming through abuse in our community, sometimes people have to leave our community. I think of Josephine Baker. I think of when Shaka Khan went to Europe. I think about Nina Simone went to Europe. Tina Turner ended up in Europe. There's something about wanting to have a peace and being with someone where you don't have to always think about their safety over your own. And we can't be honest with that. Somehow we've wanted Black women to always feel like it is their job to defend Black men. in their madness, even if it means your own life. Because Tina Turner could have easily have been Black femicide. But the fact that she kept reinventing herself and reclaiming herself, refining herself, reshaping herself. I mean, Tina Turner was amazing. Like, her story is so amazing, and how she kept trying to stay in the light, even though people kept wanting to pull her back into this whole Ike thing. Because in our community, when we see people a certain way, we want to keep them in that space. We want to make sure they never leave that space. If you have not seen this Tina documentary, please watch it. She said some like real truth. She talked about never really feeling loved, and I think a lot of Black women could relate to that. And I'm talking about Black woman. That's who I'm talking about. I'm talking about the messages that we get as Black girls, not the lipstick and heels and weave, because that doesn't make you a woman. I'm talking about the ideals that people give us as Black women and as girls, that we learn to put ourselves last and to be so loyal to people that we basically ended our own lives to help someone else have something. And so I took so many lessons from watching Tina Turner. I took how you take control of yourself, that you must tell your story, because that's a part of your own healing. That's a part of your own liberating yourself, finding your voice. You must find your voice. The insecurity, the abuse that we learn to accept as Black girls and women, as it relates to how we see Black males and Black men. I think we have to be very honest about that. There's so many times I hear even Black women, because here's the real truth with Tina. She really talked about wanting the love from her mother. And you'll see her mother in this interview, and how, you know, when we have real trauma, we can't really pass things on to our children that would be helpful and beneficial to them. So seeing this very powerful woman, see, to me, I would have loved to have learned about Aretha Franklin story from Aretha Franklin, not somebody else who don't share the experience of what Aretha Franklin went through, like in her own words. This was Tina Turner in her own words. She has such gems to give us. And every time I look at Tina Turner, I will never look at her the same. She's still a goddess to me. She's still a queen to me, but I will never look at her the same, ever. I am forever changed by her documentary. I felt like she was giving me my own messages about breaking silence, like to not stop doing it. That how unprotected we are, and how belief should be used to set one free, not to enclose people, not to enslave people, not to beat people up, but to liberate you and to make you feel perfect, whole, and complete. And as she finding her way. So I look at her, I look at Grace Jones, I look at all of these very different Black women and how they have to fight just to be themselves. You know, I'm so grateful that she found a team of people who believed in her when she left Ike, when she was doing the Vegas show tunes, was giving you her whole background. She raised 4 Black men, and those 4 Black men got to hear their father beat the hell out of their mother. We don't talk about that. And it does not give them a pass if for some reason they grew up and beat their women. They don't get a pass because that's what they heard. See, that's because I hear Black people saying, well, I don't really give a damn about that. We don't have to get passes. And the one brother said that totally changed, like that just changed his life. He will never do nothing like that. So I feel like this is a film we got to sit and watch. We love to make people divas, and we love to, make people superstars. But little do we know what it really takes for people, like the stories that people have to come through. Her loyalty to her relationship was a loyalty that was killing her and was going to kill her if she hadn't found something that would ground her spiritually. And for her, it was Buddhism. Her chanting. As I was watching that, I felt something in me vibrate, in terms of when you're constantly seeking for something to lift you up out of here. And I think being a Buddhist is very different than being something that everybody practices every day, and we still kill each other in the name of whatever it is we believe in. She had to really work, to get out of this relationship. And let's be honest, she was in the Black community, but we don't support abused people. We don't support Black women and girls who are abused, who are missing, who are sexually assaulted. In the Black community, we don't support that. We support the people who are the predators. Let's just be honest, because you can't have close to 300 Black women being murdered, and we only 3 months into the year, and Black folks are out here on crickets talking about Asian hate. Like that's how we know there's something wrong. So I think Tina's story um, was just so liberating, and I'm so grateful that this elder, because to me Tina Turner is my elder, that she shared her story in her own words. There's something very liberating about her. There's something that it was a gift that she gave us, even though this was like supposed to be like her farewell. How like it's kind of like if you ever talk to an elder and you say, "What was your life like? What was it?" And they can really tell you the truth. It can really help you on your journey. Man, she was just so powerful, just so powerful. And I'm so grateful for Tina Turner. I'm so grateful that she gets to tell her story. You know what I mean? So if you haven't seen it, um, if you haven't seen it, um, you know, um, uh, please watch it. You know, please watch it. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with y'all. As I watched Tina Turner, it was awesome. I feel like we really have to share. Um, we really have to share these stories. We really have to share what was it really like for us. If we're going to stop abuse in our community, if we're going to stop the killing of Black girls and women by Black men and boys, we got to say something, family. We got to really have these real conversations. We got to know what happened to our grandmothers and their mothers and their mothers. One of the things I really loved about Tina Turner, and they was right in the face of a lot of hatred. Not once did she try to hang what was happening to her when the man said, "You signed that old nigga," or something like that. Of course they would have called her that, but that didn't stop her from getting to where she had to go. It didn't stop her at all. She still had a mission. And I think for me, I'm gonna be honest, that's what I see that's missing. We love to hang our stuff on some invisible system of group of people who are some hidden agenda people, instead of saying, you know what, we could take care of this. We could stop violence in our community immediately. We really can as a people if we held the woman in a sacred place. If we really felt that we could really help someone that was really abused, or we see those signs and we know people are missing, but they right here in our faces, or we know we see behavior that's not good behavior, we don't say anything as Black folks because we are taught and programmed that every Black man and boy is our brother, which is a lie. Because when you're a predator and you should be dealt with. You don't get to have brother privileges if you're not a brother. And so when you see this documentary, it was just kind of like it was so beyond, her having to deal with how she felt about herself, how she felt about her real hair, how she wanted somebody to love her for her. And when I look at Black women, people are always criticizing the way we look and what we don't look like and what we do have, what we don't have. Black women are the least protected and the most disrespected. And not even by other groups, but by our own group. So when you watch this documentary, um, I'm gonna have to probably watch it again because I'm gonna probably write some curriculum out of this, because she said so many things in here. And when I looked in there, I seen so many women, I seen so many stories, but I couldn't help, family, to feel like I find myself saying sometimes you have to leave Black people. You have to leave us, family, because we're not gonna protect you. We're not gonna honor you. We're not even gonna value you. And sometimes you have to go with people who will value you and who will protect you. And sometimes those people don't look like yourself. Because when I read Nina Simone's story, when I look at Tina Turner's story, I could just go on down a list of Black women who left the Black so-called world or whatever and went to Europe and and found peace and love and respect and a good partner. Because at the end of the day, you want somebody that's going to love and honor and respect you. You don't want someone you have to always fight to love or understand their dysfunction. That's tiring as hell to do. And so at the end of her thing, when I seen her with her husband and that this man loved her and he's helping her, because of course she's quite older than him, but it's the love that he has for her. And we could come up with all kind of bullshit in our ignorance. Like, he a white man, he got this. Shut up. Most of y'all don't even know what love is. You don't even love the person you with. Shit, you don't even love yourself. So we have all of these ideas of what we think we know about people, but really you don't know shit about them. You know nothing about their story. You can never walk a mile in their shoes at all. You don't know what it's like to be a part of a people who don't fucking honor the very life that the very people that bring them onto the planet, the very women and girls, they're sacred portals. They have no respect for them. And so the violence in our community amongst each other, this black on black violence, this black on black crime, yes, I'm saying it, this black on black murder is ridiculous. And the fact that we don't want to say it, we want to act like it's somehow racist, that means that you know goddamn good. That means you're no good. That means that you cannot govern yourself, and you probably do need to be governed by the police, because evidently you're not capable of having decent and common morals. I thank Tina Turner for her story. I thank Sissy Tyson for writing that book, for giving us some pearls and gems on the way out the door. Because somehow people made us believe that because we're young, well, we're experiencing some new shit. Ain't nothing new about this. This is the same stuff our grandmothers went through, but felt so shamed that they didn't want to tell us. That felt so shamed that they weren't protected. That felt so shamed that they stayed in abusive relationships. That felt so shamed that they trusted people who did not give a damn about them. Felt so shamed that they had given children to men who didn't deserve to be anybody's father. It was just shame, shame, shame. And so they did not share our stories. And so we keep reliving this cycle. I felt really sad that Tina Turner's mom, didn't really love her. I felt sad to the core. And I felt even more sad to watch a woman like Tina Turner, who was so powerful, talk about fighting to love herself. And her true self, not the self we see on stage singing and looking fabulous, but the real self that is her, that is Tina Turner. I'm so grateful. To me, that's a real documentary when you lay it all out there. Not some fantasy fairy tale stuff, not some my man cheated on me stuff, so we're going to do an album and make $1 million. Not that bullshit, no disrespect. But I wanted to hear her real story about who she was under all of that I love. That voice we hear, to me, that when I hear Tina Turner sing, it is like being wild and being free without restrictions. But knowing that she was fighting to get past her own personal restrictions, in terms of what was given to her, that was a part of her imprint of her life, that she was trying to fight to take care of her family, to love herself, to try to stay on that positive side when people kept wanting you to go to the dark side. And people wanted to define her by experiences that happened to her. And she was trying to live her, and she ended up doing it, living her best life and loving herself. But there is something in our psyche as Black people where we keep wanting to make women be responsible for men's behavior, where we make even our abusers our brothers. They still get to have that word when they should not be, because brothers don't abuse, brothers don't murder. That's not what brothers do. If somebody do that, they cannot be your brother. So I thank Sister Tina Turner. I could not, in good conscience, go to bed without saying something about that film, Tina. You gotta watch it. I got so many lessons. I have so many notes over here. Just her telling her story was so liberating. And I'm gonna leave you with this, something that she said, and I'm gonna really work on this curriculum. I have to watch it a few times and write some stuff up that I want to share with my girls. She said, I want a man who wears the trousers, but not a man to try to dominate me. I want a man who could wear the trousers, but not dominate me. And in the core part of me, I felt like I can so relate to that statement. I love a man to be a man, but I do not want him dominating me. We could be like the yin and the yang, but you cannot be dominating me. So, family, if you haven't seen Tina Turner's film, please, 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 please watch it. Sit down with your daughters and watch it. You know, have a conversation with your daughters after you watch it. Ask them how they felt about what they were learning. That they may turn around and ask you some questions about yourself. Because I know I would, if my mother was here, I would be asking her more questions now after I done read this Sissy Tyson book and the Seeing as Tina Turner. There's so many times I wish I could just ask my mother some things that I can't because now she's an ancestor, but I feel like she's opened the door. So if you haven't seen Tina Turner's DocUFilm, please watch it. Good night.